Hello guys, welcome to my channel. V3 changes are finally out. Caesar received massive buffs. She's extremely strong, powerful. Some people might even say she's broken now. Also, Burnice received some changes as well, along with drive discs and V-engine changes as well. We're gonna go over all this stuff. Let's begin with Caesar kit changes first. Let's start with her basic attack, ramp and slash. I'll try to be quick as possible on certain things so the video is not too long. Basically, her basic attack string is increased and will do more days multiplier overall and also more damage. Also, this road is blocked, which is part of basic attack. Also has an increased damage and days multiplier. As for her X special attack parry counter, it will now provide a higher days multiplier, especially if you're doing the precision block counter, which means you're timing it at the right time. You're gonna get more days and more damage out of it, which is very strong, but you'd have to make sure you time it right. Also, her X special attack superpower slash got buff as well. Now it does more days multiplier and damage multiplier, and once again additional days multiplier if you do the precision block correctly. Just by looking alone at her special attack changes and basic attack changes, there's already massive changes, which makes her so much better at stunning as a stun unit, especially if you time your precision blocks correctly. She did receive a slight nerf with offense is the best defense. Now the buff is going to be 21% impact instead of 32% impact. I don't think it's a big deal that she lost some of this impact buff, because you can get the impact buff and stats from elsewhere anyway. I would argue that multipliers being buffed straight up is so much better for her. Now let's go over to her core passive skill, and oh boy, this got massively buffed. Like, it's ridiculous if you ask me. It's very powerful, okay? So let's begin with her shield. Now the scaling is from 700% to 1400% of her impact stat, plus an additional 2200 at base for 90 seconds. So this should be around 4 to 5k strong shields. And yes, you might think this is not like a very large number and it can get removed very quickly, but you have to understand that she can reapply this shield very quickly just by using her X special attack parry counter. Plus it lasts 90 seconds, so like effectively you're gonna have the uptime of this shield all the time. So it's not only for protection what this shield does, but it also provides extremely important buffs. The anti-interrupt level increase, this was already before on her, which is very nice, so you don't get interrupted as much. But here is the new additional massive buff change. Now, while the shield is active, the holder will get 1000 attack buff, and this effect will remain for 5 seconds even after the shield is lost. But you reapply the shield very quickly. This attack buff is ridiculous. Not only Caesar is already good with a strong shield, anti-level interrupt resistance, and good stun capabilities, and also pretty good anomaly build-up, which is nice for anomaly teams. Now you get a whooping extra 1000 attack, which will also benefit, of course, anomaly teams, but can also be now used for attacker teams. So there is also an argument now that you can easily use Caesar for attack teams as the stunner slot in them, because you will have this extra 1000 attack on top, which is a massive buff for your attack units as well, besides anomaly, which you already played before. Also, your additional ability is extremely easy to activate. You just need to have a character that has defensive assist. There are two types of characters that have evasive assist or characters that have defensive assist. So any character that literally has defensive assist in their kit will work with Caesar or the same faction. And whenever Caesar triggers precision block, which is the perfect parry counter, defensive counter, or unleashes her defensive assist, she will debuff enemies around 7 meters, increasing the damage dealt to them by all teammates by 25%, now lasting 30 seconds. So basically what they did is that not only she will provide a damage boost for your entire team, she's also gonna buff you 1000 attack on top, which is extremely powerful. This is effectively a pseudo defensive supportive stun unit. The way she is right now, it's extremely powerful, extremely strong. They did nerf her damage multiplier for the assist follow-up, but after all the changes already listed, it's like whatever. They also have changed her M1. It still provides all attribute res down by 15%. However, now the shield has a 300-second cooldown, so getting the shield by entering combat or switching on her has a 5-minute cooldown. In my opinion, it's a very large cooldown. It could be shortened, but at the same time, the other buffs are so ridiculous anyway that at this point it's like whatever. before. They also have changed her M2 to be more supportive for your team. Now Caesar shield value is increased by 20%. Caesar Gore passive Wall of Resilience boost attack to 100% of its original value. So now the attack boost would be 1500, which is extremely powerful already at 1000. When Caesar applies Shield of Glory, if the shield is already present, the next time her X special attack Superpower Slash or ultimate hits an enemy, primarily Superpower Slash, I don't think you're gonna be using ultimate on her, the damage dealt by the attack is increased by 20% and the days dealt is increased by 10%. If the percentage of the existing shield is greater than or equal to 75%, the previous bonus is doubled. So basically this part is just for more damage. And the last part of her M2, she gets some energy points on a 1 minute cooldown. Her M2 is pretty good value, much more supportive than before. But nevertheless, at M0, Caesar is already amazing. Let's also quickly go over her M4 and M6. M4 is basically a nice quality of life feature that her X special attack Superpower Slash can consume ultimate support points instead of energy if you don't have energy, and she gets these ultimate support points by doing chain attacks or ultimate skill. So basically primarily from chain attacks. And M6 also receives some changes. M6 basically will make your Caesar an actual DPS as well. Her enhanced special skill Superpower Slash will always critically hit, deal 50% additional damage and extra 50% damage to the primary target. And after using enhanced special skill Superpower Slash, Caesar critical hit rate is increased by 30% and her critical damage is increased by 60% for 15 seconds. Overall with Caesar, she's extremely busted right now, even at M0. If you do get her V engine, it only gets better. We're gonna go over Burnice and Caesar V engine very shortly. I wanna go over Burnice kit very quickly as well, because Burnice also received some changes, so let's do that. So let's begin with Burnice basic attack, Blazing Flames. It did receive some multiplier changes as well. As you can see, her damage multiplier got slightly buffed, but more importantly, they have buffed the days multiplier. Having a better days multiplier for anomaly units is always more than welcome, because generally you might not even play with actual stun units, so having anything that can help you stun enemies as quick as possible is very nice. They also have changed her chain attack. Now her chain attack, after the skill is executed, you'll have the ability to do a follow-up with her X special attack Searing Swing. The only thing I'm not sure about this change is whether does this ability now cost energy or not, because as we know, X special attack Searing Swing is an ability that does normally cost energy, and if it would be used here as a follow-up, would it consume energy? So let's say if it does consume energy, but we don't have enough energy, so how would this then work? I'm not sure. If you guys figure this one out, feel free to write it down in the comments below. Also, the shape of the attack seems to be changed now in form of Fiery Shockwave in a forward cone area compared to a fan-shaped area in front. So maybe this also changes her hitbox or something. I'm not certain. We'll definitely have to see on that one. Her core passive also received some changes. It's a very long text, so I'll try to make it short and simple as possible. So basically her Ember effect, which is the off-field coordinated attack, received a buff. Now it will scale off 320% of her attack instead of 300%, with an additional 30% up to 30% depending on her anomaly proficiency. If you have 300 anomaly proficiency, you will have extra 30% damage with her Ember coordinated attack. This is a welcome change because now her off-field attacks will do even more damage, which is pretty cool. Her dodge counter also received some changes. It seems her animation for the dodge counter will perform an actual AoE and not just frontal attack, and it only deals pure fire damage, no physical damage whatsoever. And personally it makes sense because she's a fire anomaly build-up unit. Physical wouldn't work as an anomaly build-up for a non-physical unit anyway, so I don't know what was the point of that one. And also after using the skill, if you hold down the button, it will allow you to directly follow up with her X special attack Searing Swing Double Take. Also know that this one does cost energy as well, so I assume you will have to have energy available to follow up with this one. If you don't have it, I guess it's not gonna work. So yeah, if you know anything more about this one specifically, feel free to point it out in the comments below, because I'm not personally sure about it myself. Her Mindscape also received some changes. The amount of ignition points is increased by 130%. It's the same as before, but now she no longer gets an attack boost. She will reduce the trigger interval to 1 second for her coordinated attack attacks, which are embers. Normally, the coordinated attacks were triggered once every 0.5 seconds. Now it's reduced to 1 second, which is even stronger because now you'll be able to build Fire Anomaly even faster if you get her M1. Her Mindscape 2 also received some changes. When the Ember effect is triggered, it will apply Hit Piercer to the enemy, stacking up to 5 stacks and lasting for 6 seconds. Repeated triggers will refresh the duration. So what is this Hit Piercer? It's basically a buff for your entire team that will give them penetration rate up to 20%. So her new M2 basically improves your entire team damage by giving everyone penetration stat up to 20%. Meanwhile, the previous one was more improvement for her own personal damage. They also have changed her M6. I'll go quickly over it. During the activation of her X special attack Searing Swing Double Take, she will ignore 25% of the target fire resistance attribute. This is an extremely powerful Mindscape, but once again, definitely not needed. She's gonna be already great at M0. If you want to go a bit more vertical investment, you could always go with her V engine and maybe even M1, and that's about it. But she's definitely gonna be already good at M0, so you don't have to really sweat about her Mindscapes. Now let's go over V engine changes. Burnice and Caesar V engines did receive some changes. Burnice now, instead of anomaly proficiency, will get 30% attack percentage from her V engine. The energy regeneration increase is still the same, which is extremely important for her because she will definitely want a lot of energy. They also have buffed the rest of the passive that now her X special hit will increase her damage dealt by 4% up to 10 stacks instead of 3.6. Overall, Burnice V engine is still very good for her, and if you do want to vertical invest into your Burnice, it's still a pretty good pickup. The energy is going to be very important for her as well. Caesar V engine also received changes. It is technically buffed. The energy generation rate increase is the same as before, but now the passive activation for the damage and days boost is different. Before, whenever your allies or even herself got attacked while shielded, you got the buff. Now, whenever you perform counter or perfect dodge anybody in the team, that is, you will receive the damage boost and the days boost. This is much better than the previous one because even now, if you don't have the shield and just perform a counter or perfect dodge, you will get this buff. And the repeated triggers will refresh the duration. So effectively, we have a permanent 80% team damage boost and also permanent 12% days dealt increase. This is extremely powerful V engine for Caesar that I would personally highly recommend if it stays the way it is. And now I would also like to talk about drive disc changes. Original Punk. This is the drive disc set primarily best in slot for Caesar. The 2-piece set bonus is the same as before. However, they did change her 4-piece set bonus, which is a nerf. The old one provided a 50% team days increase. Now it's gonna provide you a 15% damage boost. Technically, the days increase was much more valuable for Caesar, but it does make sense they did remove this because with all of these Caesar buffs that she received with her days multipliers and so on, she's already a pretty good stunner, and you could argue that if they kept this original 15% team days increase, that she would be able even to stun really effectively against physical resistant enemies as well. Yes, resistances also matter for days accumulation, not just damage accumulation. Still, this is a best in slot for her because the team damage bonus is still going to be very valuable. If you pair it up this with the engine, it only gets better because you're going to have even more team damage bonus and you still have that 12% days from the V engine at least. Personally, it makes sense to me that why the days was here removed, because she would have way too much days and would be even more busted than it already is. Now let's talk about Chaos Jazz. It received a very interesting change. It's pretty much the same as before, except it's not only increased fire damage, it also increases electric damage by 15%. Now Grace can also use this drive disc set bonus, or even potentially Yanagi, which is rumored to be electric anomaly. So this is definitely a better set now to farm because it's not just for Burnice or some other fire anomaly units that come in the future, but also for electric anomaly units, which is nice. We can also quickly talk about the new Sons of Khalid on Bang Boo. It received a nerf. The active skill did get increased from 35 to 36%, which at face value might think it's a buff, but in reality reality, they nerfed the active skill. The active skill used to have a cooldown reduction to 5 seconds each time a target was defeated, not by the Bangbu itself, but anybody in your team. Now it's 4 seconds. The cooldown of the Bangbu ability, I believe it's 30 seconds. So now you will technically take a bit longer to get the active skill back compared to before, but the Bangbu still has potential because from what I remember, this Bangbu has the ability to push enemies towards you. So perhaps some normal enemies that are like moving away from you, this little guy might be able to push them into us, which is very nice and wastes less of our time. I would like to do a quick TLDR recap for Caesar because she did receive the most changes, and also talk about my concern with these changes for the future direction of this game. So what does Caesar provide right now? Let's list the entire thing. Plus 4,000 shields, can also be 5k depending on your stats for the entire team, and this is easily refreshable. 1,000 attack boost for your characters while they're shielded. This is extremely strong for anomaly based and also attack based teams. While you're shielded, you also have anti-interrupt level increased, so you're not going to get staggered or interrupted easily at all. She also provides a 25% damage increase AoE debuff that lasts for 30 seconds whenever you use her X special skill thingy, which is also extremely strong paired up with the attack boost that's already out. She does have a lot of days and she's effectively a stun unit, but you do have to make sure you get those parries timed correctly to maximize that days. If you do that correctly, she's a stun unit, or potentially even better than the stun unit at how fast she's gonna stun if you get those precision blocks. She also has very good anomaly physical build-up, which is very good for anomaly teams, and drive disc set provides 50% team damage boost that's also easily refreshable and maintained up at all times. So as you can see, this is an insane value proposition that you're getting out of a M0 without signature character, and if you happen to get her signature V engine, you'll also get an 80% damage boost and 12% days boost for the entire team, which is easily refreshable buff, so you basically have a perma uptime on it. It's ridiculous at this point. She's extremely strong, and if you happen to get her M1, she will also provide a 15% AoE resistance down for all attributes on top of that. Caesar is already extremely powerful at M0 without the V engine signature, but if you get the V engine on top, it's even stronger. It's actually extremely ridiculous. My biggest concern with these changes is that we might be getting accelerated power creep in this game even faster than what we had in Honkai Star Rail, because in Honkai you were not getting this type of level of unit in a 1.2 patch. Meanwhile, if this happens here, we will be getting very likely accelerated power creep, and I'm not just talking about power creep between characters, but the difficulty of the content in itself, especially endgame. If they're bumping out very strong characters like Caesar already so early on in the life cycle, that means they will also have to bump up the difficulty of the endgame content, such as more higher HP enemies, more damage, more annoying mechanics, and this is not very good for all their characters, especially from 1.0 patch, because they might even age out faster than even what I originally predicted to be the case. This is a double-edged sword. It can be good for those people who are pulling for this type of characters, but if you're skipping them and the difficulty gets extremely bumped up there and you still want to use your older characters or something else, you will definitely have a harder time. So yeah, let me know in the comments down below what you think about this potential accelerated power creep, whether it's gonna happen or not. I personally see it happening if they keep Caesar as it is. If they nerf Caesar to keep her more in line with the other current releases we have right now, then I don't think it's gonna happen as quickly. Nevertheless, we shall see what happens soon enough. And I guess that's it for this video. If you have any questions or anything else that you would like to add, feel free to write it down in the comments below. I also stream every single day on Twitch/YouTube, so if you just want to chat or have any questions, feel free to ask me there. And of course, the YouTube thingy. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. I wish you a wonderful day and see you in the next video.